Joining us on the line now is Congressman Mike Kelly, Republican from Pennsylvania, an all-round good guy. We've had him on the show many times, and I always feel like I learn something when he comes on. Congressman, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, guys. How we doing?
We're doing all right. Okay, so the IRS scandal. First of all, let's just start out because, the president says that when it comes to things like Benghazi and the investigation on Capitol Hill and what the IRS was up to, well, he describes it this way.
Phony scandals?
They're phony scandals. They're not real scandals. They're phony scandals. And, those pesky people up on Capitol Hill keep getting into our business and raising all these questions about things that we think are phony scandals.
Phony scandals?
Yeah, they're phony scandals. Look, the latest thing to come out is that the FEC apparently has also now been involved in targeting some of the Tea Party groups, some of the conservative groups that were looking for tax-exempt status. What's the latest on that?
Well, you know what? Most of the stuff is just unwinding, guys, and we're starting to see more and more testimony come forward. And as you know, our efforts are, as a body in Congress, in the House of Representatives, we are the oversight group. We're the people that can investigate, we can expose, but we can't prosecute. And I think that when you hear the president speak and when you see this administration, these agencies, which people really thought were totally not political, we're finding out that, no, that's not true at all. There's a political bent to everything that goes on, and the intimidation factor grows and grows and grows. So I think as this continues to unwind and as more people come forward, and I've got to tell you, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're nowhere near the end. The president would love it to be at the end. Some of his party would love it to be in the end. But the real story is almost everywhere we look, under every stone, there's something that turns up that is not good for the American people.
In this case of the FEC, they queried the IRS about a certain conservative group. By the way, who did they query? Lois Lerner. And guess how quickly they got their answer? In 5 minutes. And guess what? The staff that made that query didn't have permission to do so. I mean, it's like, how can you, as we get into this thing and we learn more and more and more about it, it's like, how can you begin to suggest that these aren't issues worthy of investigation?
Well, that's the whole point, I think. And as I said earlier, listen, we're going to see this continue to unwind. It unravels every day. This is an administration that pledged the most transparent and clear administration that would ever see. That was 4.5 years ago. Now, 4.5 years into this presidency and into this administration's efforts, and we look at this, I think the main thing that our listeners understand this, but a lot of the American public does not. The executive office controls all of these different agencies. When you get a new CEO, and in this case, President Obama, he brings with him the heads of all these different agencies. Now, the people that work there, I've been in front of them before. They don't care who the president is as long as they keep their job. And they have said to me many times, "Look, Kelly, you got to get reelected. We just got to get through your term and get to our retirement." So I don't know. There's a great deal of effort on everybody's part to get this thing solved. I would say this though. If we can't, as elected representatives of the people who sent us, continue to probe and find out what's going on, then we should resign and walk away from these offices. As unpleasant as some people think it is, and it is not to me. To me, it's an obligation. This is absolutely incredible, guys, what's going on. And to have it soft-soaped or soft-sold and say it's no longer it's a phony scandal, the only thing phony is this man standing up in front of the people and saying that he's really interested in moving on. What he's just moving on to is the next election.
Representative,
back the House of Representatives. If he gets the House of Representatives in this next election, it's Katie bar at the door. It's over. This country may never recover from an administration that is absolutely bent to forever change the tone and tint of this nation.
Representative Mike Kelly is our guest. He's a Republican from Pennsylvania. He's on the House Ways and Means Committee. And yesterday in the House Ways and Means Committee, you guys were talking to Acting IRS Commissioner Daniel Werfel. Yes. Your colleague, Representative Sam Johnson, said, hey, how come people in the IRS are trying to exempt themselves from the Obamacare law, especially considering the IRS is going to be the sole agency in charge of enforcing the Obamacare law? Here was his answer.
I'd prefer to stay with the current policy that I'm pleased with rather than go through a change if I don't need to go through that change.
Now, Congressman Kelly, you know I like you. The last thing I want to do is get you in trouble with leadership. But you were elected to the House of Representatives in 2010. You were elected as a direct result of the American people's outrage over Obamacare. We are now, 50 days away from this ticking time bomb exploding on our health care system. The only reason John Boehner, your speaker, is the speaker is because people like you were elected to that House of Representatives to reverse Obamacare. What is the House of Representatives doing on a day-to-day basis right now that is more important than reversing Obamacare, the thing we elected you to do?
Well, as you guys know, we've worked to try and defund parts of Obamacare. We're continuing to work that way. It's a law right now. I think the hardest part about this is getting to the point where people would like to see something happen more quickly. The speaker talks about it all the time in conference. He talks about a strategy of how we can defund certain parts of it. But more than anything else, guys, we've got this, as you said, the ticking time bomb. October 1st is the date. That's when the exchanges open up. A lot of the states aren't ready for it yet. And part of our hearing yesterday was about who's ready and who's not ready. And the answer is there's a lot that aren't ready.
Well, but you
it lays on the speaker's desk. But I got to tell you, at the end of the day, listen, this was passed. The Supreme Court looked at it. They said it's constitutional. The people reelected this president in the fall, and a lot of the things that we could do, we can no longer do because we are in the minority. Now, we can make a ruckus about it, and we can stand up and say that the public isn't happy about it, but the truth of the matter is we had a chance to change this on November the 6th, and we walked away from it as a nation. Now, why that happened, I can't explain that. I know that we have certain things we can do in the House of Representatives, and it does come down to we control the purse strings. So what we will continue to do is look at our options and how we can bring back pieces of this. But I got to tell you right now, this is not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of different opinions of how we'd be able to do it. Some of them are probably correct. Some of them are incorrect.
Is it true that the president has struck a deal with leadership in the Congress so that the staffers who are supposed to be beholden to the Obamacare law and they have to sign up over on the exchanges just like every American citizen has to?
I don't know about that. I mean, I've heard what you just said this happened. I have not heard that. I've not talked to either Mr. Cantor or to Mr. Boehner. I have not heard that from them. I would be surprised. The president is going to try and fix it. Come on, he tries to fix everything, puts a little spin on everything. I would tell you right now, I have my own private health care. I've always had it. I still own a business, and my health care is paid for. I pay for it myself through my business, so I'm not interested in that. I think the taxpayers pay me enough to be here. But I know there's a great concern, especially with people on our staff, as to what they'll do with their health care, because everybody is starting to see just how incredibly overreaching this law is.
Do you think there'll be a change in people's feeling about this on Capitol Hill after they come back from the August recess? Because my sense of it is a lot of people are going to go back home, and they are going to get an earful from union people, from employees who realize that their cost for health care is going up, from employers who never have liked the idea. It seems like that this is one of those rare moments where they may come back with a different opinion.
Well, you know what? People are starting to learn what exactly this law does to them, especially the low-income people. Low-paid workers are looking at this. Their entire lives have been turned upside down. Listen, when you see a work week going from 40 hours down to 30 hours, when you look at the number of full-time employees you have or the aggregate number of hours they work, putting you in a different category. This piece is so convoluted. It's so twisted. It's the old saying, if you can't convince them, confuse them. This president spun a tale. And you talk about a phony. This whole healthcare piece was phony from day one. If you like it, you can keep it. You want to keep your own doctor, you keep it. We're finding out that none of this is true.
None of it is.
It's abjectly false.
And that's why the American people are hoping that you will actually be able to reverse this thing. Mike Kelly, Congressman Mike Kelly from Pennsylvania, we know you.